One of the worst things that I've ever been through was kicking methadone in the feds in 2009, going from 180 milligrams down to pretty much, I tapered for a couple weeks, if that, and then I had to kick it cold turkey, and it lasted 6 months. And I was looking at 10 years. Um, I just found out that Jenny was cheating on me. Every time I saw my attorney, it's like, yeah, well, you know, best case scenario is 5 years, but it's looking a little bit more like 10. Like he was a fucking weather forecaster. I'm like, dude, 10 years? Are you kidding me? In my 30s? It's insane, And so that particular time period was really, really difficult for me. It was, aside from losing my friend Paul, that was the most painful thing I've ever been through. It was just a bad situation. I mean, it was painful any way you look at it, emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually. I was just broken. If I had a gun, I would have killed myself. I mean, that goes without saying. That's the level of pain that I had to endure. And it was a 6-month thing, and it was horrible. Just getting used to the idea of going to prison is really difficult. And then I got out. The second time I went, I kicked alcohol and heroin at the same time. And that was pretty bad. Delirium tremens is no joke either. I had no idea that that kicking alcohol could be that bad. I had never truly kicked Suboxone until this third term while I was still in Santa Barbara County Jail. And I had been jumped, and I had broken ribs, and I had no idea how much time I was going to do. And I was in a state of complete psychosis still. And I'm in this, I don't even know what it's called, like a, bullpen, it's like this cell with bars. You can't see anybody else. It's not even ISO. It's not the hole. It's just a place, like if you go on a medical call, like if you're going to see the dentist once every 15 months or whenever they do it, it's absurd that, and then you wait to see the dentist and you finally, go there and they're like, oh yeah, we're just going to pull that shit. And you're like, well, can you save it? They're like, it doesn't matter. Well, can I get a sticker, a free toothbrush? I mean, like a little toy out of a treasure bin, like I would at a normal dental office? No. You're a criminal bitch. I'm like, oh, go ahead and pull my teeth in, man. But you know best. And I have some teeth. I don't know. I'm not missing too many, but you can see out there, out here. I'm missing teeth. That's all from prison or jail, Anyway, when you go on like a medical appointment, they'll bring you into like a front central or something, one of these like bullpens where you essentially wait to go to another part, to wherever you're going, your destination of the dental appointment or whatever it is. It is definitely not designed to live in. There's no phone. It's cold, stinks. I mean, I'd just been boofing random pieces of God knows what, either rat shit or, a piece of glass that made my asshole tear open. And I'm still dealing with that, by the way. There's blood oozing out of my asshole, and it has the consistency of like the ooze from Ninja Turtles too. It's like thick, blood that's coagulating because it's coming out of one of the biggest veins in your body, your butthole. And then I start hallucinating, remember? And I'd seen the trustee, and he looked at me, and his eyes had been replaced by just vacant gore socks. And he's just like, I'm like, oh my God. Well, if my day wasn't bad enough, now I got to deal with the demons. That checks out. So I'm in this place, and I don't really know what to do. And the radio silence of not being able to talk to anyone, Karina, my parents, that was really difficult. Um, you know, in theory, I'd get mail at this place, but who knows when. I mean, at the moment, all I really cared about was dealing with my butthole wound, because it was major. It looked like I'd been like shot on like a war field or something. There was just this big oozing tail coming out of my asshole, and blood. It's like chunky blood. It looked like pregnancy blood or something. It was disgusting. No, I'm not saying pregnancy blood's disgusting, but when it's coming out of a man's fucking asshole, it's a little different. You can't sleep when you're kicking Suboxone. And the reason that I opened this video talking about kicking, methadone, kicking alcohol in other periods of my life, I wanted to, methadone, it was by far the worst. Alcohol, hallucinating from alcohol, withdrawal, and kicking heroin simultaneously, that was the second. That was the third. Suboxone was by far the second. And we're going to get into that right now. So, I screamed for help. Cops like, well, it's shift change. And finally, a medical staff, I don't know, a nurse just happened to be walking by, and she had like a tray with a bunch of blood samples in it. And I said, excuse me, ma'am. She's like, yes. And I was like, hey, hi, I'm Ryan Leone. You may recognize me. I don't know if you read The Independent. She's just like, come on, I'm busy. What's up? And I was like, okay. I don't know how to say this, but my anus is bleeding. I mean, I'm not going to say it any other way because this is what's happening. My anus is bleeding. She's like, what do you mean? And I'm like, my asshole is cut open and it won't stop bleeding, and it's oozing very thick blood. It's a little disconcerting to me, to say the least. She's like, I'm just an intern. I was like, what? And she just left. I'm like, oh my God. Now, hallucinations had already started when I had seen the inmate with the eye socket thing. But now I was starting to panic. And the only way that I can really describe it, and I tried to describe it to Karina, over the phone while this was going on around the same time period when I finally am going to get a chance to talk to her. It's almost like, in a horror movie sometimes, especially in some of the more contemporary horror movies, when something really bad is happening, sometimes sound crescendos and gets really loud to show like the intensity. It's like, it's almost like a ear ringing sound, just to try to, like I said, to try to show the intensity. It's almost like when you're kicking on this level, you can hear that ringing in your ears. You can hear that intensity. That's what it honestly feels like. And, you start to have this anxiety attack because you know that you're not going to feel better anytime soon. When I first thought of the boofing scheme, I really thought that that was going to give me some relief, and it turned out not to. In fact, it did the opposite. It cut me open. The fact that I was going to prison for God knows how long, I was going to miss the birth of my son, and now my asshole was ripped wide open. Well, I mean, I'm sure you can imagine that on top of being dope sick, I was not a happy camper. And on top of that, nobody was listening to me. And that's it's demeaning, and it's dehumanizing. They don't even care about you. My anus is bleeding, and I'm just an intern. It's like, bitch, you're wearing scrubs. What are you talking about? Just an intern. Is a bleeding anus not an emergency? Not for a junkie like you. I don't know where that voice came from because that's not how she talks. She was, But anyway, eventually the classification officer came back to me and she said, come on, Mr. Leone. Do you really want to sit in this, tank by yourself? I said, I'd prefer to be in the hole with the phone. Well, we just can't do that right now. We have, we have dangerous offenders in there. We have more high profile. I said, whoa, I'm high profile. I don't know if you know, but I'm about to go viral. She's like, Ryan, don't do this to yourself. And I said, if it's between protective custody and this, I'm just gonna wait it out, you know? Little did I know that pretty soon I was gonna be in a state penitentiary where they were mixing PC and GP, so it didn't even fucking matter. It really didn't. The only thing that mattered during this period was my child inside of Karina, but I was conditioned with that, you know, that totally skewed perception, you know, where everything was black and white in prison. You know, I had to be inherent to some artificial standard set by the Peckerwoods, this politics. Like that shit's cool. You know, people getting orders from people that are never even going home. Lifers in holes in Pelican Bay are telling them, yeah, hey, I don't know, I'm kind of in a grouchy mood today, dog. Maybe we should just stamp some black fools. Oh, serio, dog. Oh, oh, hey, I gotta go, dog. Nah, this paisa down the hall, he's on me some mariachi shit. He does it every night at 8 o'clock. I'm fucking into it, dog. I gotta go. I'll write you the rest of the letter later. Sincerely, Papa Scrappy. Love and respect. Pero. Why? Why are we adherent to that? But that's not how I was thinking. It didn't matter. I wasn't gonna do it. I can't do it. I can't expect me to be with those pieces of shit. Those chomos. Fucking hate chomos. But I started thinking at a certain point in my life, I'm like, well, wait, I hate chomos, but wait a second. Like, I could just Google sex offenders in California. There's probably like 75 of them on my street, and I have a kid. I'm cool with that. I'm programming. You know, if you're really about it and solid, once you get a gun out and go fucking blast them all, and just be like, yeah, I put in work today. Oh, hey, Bob. Yeah, man, I'm going back to the pen. Oh, no, I haven't been caught or nothing like that, but I just killed some child molester. Yeah. Tell Larry I took care of that. All right, big dog. Bye-bye. You know, is that, if we're going by kill all chomos, if you're around them, you are one by nature, then wouldn't that be what we had to do? The fact of the matter is, I've been to Oxford. There were chomos there. You know, that's not a PCR. That's the feds. They don't even have PC in the feds. Well, they do if you're like high end and you have rainbow hair and 69 tattooed on your face, but that's neither here nor there. So anyway, I just decided to tough it out in this front central, you know, and occasionally I'd get the butt fuck me grandpa. And I'd be like, you know, I started like saying it back. Butt fuck you, grandpa. No, I'm just kidding. I made that part up. But they never came and attended to my asshole. It had to literally it had to is collalis, you know what I'm trying to say. It like had to, I can never pronounce the word, coagulate all together and clog it. So I had some like rubbery, bloody discharge, like plugging my asshole like an old school, you know, wooden keg or something. Ridiculous. So you don't sleep when you're kicking Suboxone. That just doesn't happen. And the second hallucination that I got was when I was laying on the floor trying to get whatever sleep that I could, you know, and looking up, and I saw my name written, looked like it was written in charcoal or something, you know, like, so it had been charcoal from a grill and someone had written Ryan on the ceiling. I was like, damn, that's a coincidence. There was another Ryan in here. Ryan is going to die? That other Ryan sounds like a straight bitch. I'm going to try to just lay here and pretend like I'm sleeping because it's impossible while you're coming off of Suboxone or methadone or heroin for that matter. And like we talked about in the last video, you'll get these momentary cat naps, but you wake up to any outside, you know, you'll hear like some loud noise, or you'll hear someone yell, "But fuck me, grandpa," and then you just wake up and you're like, ah. So it was this very spotty limbo, you know, between sleeping and being conscious. Days kind of bled into each other because, you know, and I'd done a lot of whole time and it was very comparable to that. I didn't see sunlight. you know, I didn't have a clock and I didn't have a phone. I had no contact to the outside world. So I was just there, usually I'd probably be thinking about Karina and what she's doing but the pain of kicking completely distracted me from anything going on in the outside world. And I'm not sure how many days went by, but I end up going to court. They call me for court. Now, the whole experience of going to court is torturous to begin with when you're in the shackles and you're with the handcuffs. But when you're kicking, it's even worse. You're next to somebody, you're uncomfortable. It takes a lot just to have like a posture to sit up. Your head feels weighted. So you like sag and you like lean on someone's shoulder, and some black guy's like, "Hey, brother, no, I ain't down with that. I haven't done that kind of shit since 1977. And that was only for money, though. Get the fuck off of me. I ain't no fucking weirdo. Oh, sorry, I'm sick, man. Oh, you's a fucking hype is what you are. You one of them fucking rich boy hypes. Yeah, I read about you. Fucking disgrace. I gotta hustle for every goddamn thing that I got." It's like, oh, all right, man. Cool. Yeah. Fuck the way I feel. Just keep telling me what a piece of shit I am. What are you in here for? Oh, well, I don't see what the relevance is in saying why I'm here. The whole point of the conversation is that you were sagging your head on my shoulder, and that I ain't cool with that. That's some weirdo shit. Oh, all right. Cool. So I go to court, sick. I'm not really paying attention to anyone. Everyone's having their normal conversations. Usually I'm like, I'm the class clown. It'll be silent. That's what it's what always happens. They put you into the tank. You're with about 30 people, and everybody's sitting there with their hands folded in their lap, and everyone's silent. Like nobody wants to talk. Usually you got one or two guys that goes and snags the toilet paper to use as a pillow. They know what's up. They usually are the ones that have their scrub pants creased a little bit. They look like they're in like a fucking Dr. Dre music video or something from the 90s. Like they really got like the prison aesthetic down, and they're always on top of it. I'm always impressed by people with that kind of convict prowess. They go in there, grab the toilet paper, they have their little pillow, they're all creased up. When they see the cop, they go, "Yo, put me down for another sandwich." Right on. And they're like the only one that gets an extra one because they asked. There's always a professional like that. But I'm always the guy that breaks the silence, and I'll say something just ridiculous, I'm trying to think of something ridiculous to say. I don't know. If I say something butt fuck, you guys will be like, "Oh, that's funny." Be like, "Wow, I don't like getting up early in the morning and having to pound milk. Makes my stomach bubbly, and I am no longer butt fuckable." And there's like some toothless carnies. "Oh, yeah, that's pretty funny." Yeah, butt fuck. That's pretty funny. And you're looking around at these people, and it's just the oddest assortment of people. You got the clear homeless guy that, his face looks like Indian clay or something. It's like red and there's like smudges everywhere, and they got the alcoholic or red webbing on their nose, and they're just sitting there. And you got to think, you're like, does that guy know he's in jail or not? And then you like, I'm the kind of guy, I'm like, "Hey man, do you know you're in jail?" And he looks at me and go, "Oh, fuck." "What?" "Oh, I fall." And just starts snoring. You're like, damn. And then, then there's the people that, have never been to jail because they're scared, and they fart, and they're like, they don't say, "Excuse me." You'll see the professional convict, like he'll go take a shit and like, he'll like have keistered like the sports section of the Santa Barbara News Press, or no, they give us USA Today, like the sports section of the USA Today, and he'll just take it out of his asshole, and like it's like some little origami like square, and he just and like poofs into like the entire spread, and he's like sitting there with his pants around his ankle, his little scrubs around his ankle, sitting there like reading the newspaper. courtesy flushing, like with his butt cheeks. It's like some pro shit. The more you do time, the more you get in those repetitive motions where, you know, you can do stuff like that. I'm like, oh, that's cool. There's like another guy there, and he's like weaving like overalls, like just using strings from his pants to like make some like ornate costume, you know, or whatever. I don't know. People do weird shit. I didn't even know why I was in court. You know, without having the phone to be able to call Karina, I really didn't know why I was even there, you know, and I was hoping maybe there was going to be some good news. So I go into the courtroom, they finally call me, and I'm sick. You know, it's torturous enough, like I said, without being coming off anything. But when you're in shackles and you have the chain around you, and then you have your, you know, you're cuffed like this, and you have your little like legal work, it sucks. They shuffle me up to the, and I didn't even, you know, usually I'll get in the elevator and I'll fart, you know, just as a fuck you to the COs. But I didn't even have it in me. You know, if I tried to fart like that, shit would have run down my leg. Have I ever told that story where I did that when I was 18? Remind me if I've never told that one. Where I was wearing the white jumpsuit and I sharted, and there was literally like shit stains like on my ass. It like looked like shit sneezed out of my, like the ass part of my white jumpsuit. That I looked like the Pillsbury Doughboy with shitty pants. And then everybody was making fun of me on the bus. And I was like, can you stop making fun of me? Of my parents Western Union you like $30 in your books. Oh yeah, dude. I'm sorry, I get it. I was a dope fiend once too. Yeah. So, but that's neither here nor there. So they call me up to court. I see my mom and dad, which is always cool. I see Karina. She showed up to my court cases religiously. Anytime that we're ever fighting now, all couples fight to some degree. But anytime we're fighting, it's usually over something really petty, you know? I'm trying to think of something that we fought about recently that I can cite the example. It doesn't really matter. But I always think about what I would have given not to be handcuffed, not to be shackled, just to be cuddling up with her in a bed. And that really it puts things into perspective for me. And I'm usually like, you know what? I don't even want to fight. You're right. I'm wrong. I'm sorry. I'm sorry that you get the personality, but my dick is small. That sucks. She's like, I know. It's okay. You gave me a beautiful child. It's okay. Okay. So I get up there, and the DA comes up to me, and she's talking to me about how the best deal I'm going to get is 3 years. That's it. That's the mandatory minimum. So with the mandatory minimum sentencing, there's no mitigating factors. So there's no reason that they can give you less time. It's like 3 years. That's it. I'm going to do half time. So that translates to 18 months. But the complication was that I had the federal probation violation to do too. And that was, who knows how long. That could have been years as well. So she came up to me and she started talking to me because remember, I'm still representing myself, you know? And I mean, I felt like I was like straight up like partying at some sex festival or something for the weekend. I hadn't slept. My butthole was like torn open and just hanging on by like some boogery coagulated, you know, little buffer of dried up blood. It was gross. It felt so disgusting. And she comes up to me and she tells me that she would promise the 3 with half if I sign, and she would recommend to the feds that it doesn't get run concurrent. And when it gets run concurrent, that means that I'd have to go do the 3 with half in the state, which is like 18 months. And then instead of getting out of custody, I have to go right in, do my federal probation violation. What you want is it to run, or you want it to run concurrent. You don't want it to run consecutive, you know, and concurrent means that it would be run together. So I do my 18 months in the state, but it gets applied towards my federal credit. And hopefully I don't get more time than that. So I'm only really dealing with one thing. But the problem is that state prison counts federal custody as credit, as time credit, but it doesn't work the opposite way. When you're in federal custody or when you're in state custody, so say I went to state pen, the feds don't count any of that time towards my sentence. So the whole trick was to get into federal custody, do that time first, so that the state would count it by the time that I got over to state custody. That was the whole trick. And that's what the complication was. And she said that she was essentially, sick of waiting and that we had to come up with a resolution. Now, I didn't have any legal counsel. I didn't have anyone to talk to. And I was preoccupied just making kissy faces at Karina, and she's looking at me and she can tell I'm sick. I mean, I'm covered in sweat. I'm pale. I'm obviously dope sick. And, it's not like the DA knew what I was just saying, where, I had to do the Fed time first to get the credit. She didn't know that. I didn't even know that at the time. Somebody had told me that while I was still free, when I was fighting my case in the free world, but I didn't even know if it was true or not, and I had no one to talk to. So I end up, just continuing the case. I'm continuing to represent myself, and I get taken back to Santa Barbara County Jail, back to this front central. They're not giving me extra food or anything. There's no phone. It just sucks. The next day, I get called for visit. Now, I don't know who's coming to visit me. It could be Karina. I don't know if I had known that she wasn't allowed to come visit me at that point. I think I was. And I had had my visits taken for like 40 years or something. So when they had said that I had a visit, I was kind of scared, because maybe that meant that, a cop was going to come and tell me that I caught a new case. Maybe there's like security cam footage of who knows what. It's not like I lived the most savory lifestyle. I committed felonies almost daily when I was an alcoholic, heroin addict. So when I go to the visit, they bring you to kind of like this basement area. Basement's also where they keep all the chomos. But in that same area, there's another room, and that's the visit room. You go in there, there's like benches, and there's a glass wall. You sit there and you can talk to somebody, and they pick up the receiver, just like in the movies. And it was my parents. And so, I pick up the phone. I'm like, "Hey, Mom." And, my mom's always very emotional. She's like, "Hey, are you okay?" She like puts her hand up to me. I felt like I was in some movie where like I was looking at life, and like some brave attorney was coming to visit me to get me out, and like the hand thing was like in solidarity. That's what it felt like. And I go, "Mom, how did you guys come visit me?" And she's like, "I'll let Dad explain that to you." So my dad, I talked to my mom for a little bit. My dad comes on and he tells me that, he had talked to the attorney down in LA, the high end one that I was trying to raise the 300,000 for. And basically he'd paid her a retainer to quarterback, because I had a federal public defender and he wanted me to get a state public defender. And anyway, he had hired her to give kind of indirect counsel about what should be done, because it was complicated, because I had to do the federal and I had to do the state stuff. And we had to get it uniformed in one deal. Or we had to like, get it unified into one deal so that I knew exactly how much time I was going to do. And because and he ended up paying her a lot of money, it was like over 10 grand just to get some pretty minimal consultation about it. And one of the things is that she, as the powerful attorney that she was, had been able to call Santa Barbara County Jail and circumvent the visit thing, just so I could get a special visit with my family, because I was out there in the midst of psychosis and I was representing myself. And I guess that's what they had done when they called. They presented it as such. They said, "Look, he's going crazy. He's saying all sorts of crazy shit. We need to come talk some sense into him, or you're going to continue to have problems with him." And, Santa Barbara County Jail people are like, "Okay." They don't even know what's going on anyway. So my dad told me that he had put her on retainer, or at least to some degree, and that what she was recommending was that I stop representing myself. First of all, she said that I could seriously hurt myself in the case. She's like, "They got you for what they're saying." He's relaying what she's telling him. She's like, "They have you for what they say they have, and they're going to get that conviction. There's no point to fight it. And because of the U.S. probation, and because they know about the case, there's going to be invisible coercion and pressure. So you're going to have to do it." But her plan was that I would ask for a public defender, and that then she would work to petition the U.S. Marshals to extract me from Santa Barbara County Jail, and I'd be entered into federal custody. And that's what my dad said that I needed to do. And I was just listening to him because, you know, my dad's always giving me really sound advice. And he's like, look, he's like, they're not fucking around. They're going to give you 7 years in prison if you don't play by their rules. And this is the best case scenario. We got to get you into federal custody. We'll have the U.S. Marshals come extradite you. You go down there, you know, you finish whatever Fed time you may, you know, hopefully they give me a light sentence. And then they would take me back to Santa Barbara County Jail after I do the federal prison sentence. And then I would go to state pen, you know, and I'd get credit for the Fed time that I did if I did it that way, or I wouldn't the other way. So that's what he was telling me to do. And he's basically begging me. He said, Ryan, please. And I was going through in and out of hallucinations. You know, it seemed to get much worse at night. And I would get that ear ringing thing, you know, where it was like high intensity from like a horror film or something. And, you know, the visit was an hour long. We had agreed that that's what I was going to do. I just said, okay, you know what? You know, it's not even about me anymore. It's about my son that's going to be born into this world. I need to get out of this situation as quickly as possible. They have me. I have to do it. So he left and I wasn't going to get another visit. That's what he told me. He said they pulled the strings to get one visit and that's it. And I went back to my little front central by myself. And I remember just kind of like curling up in a ball. And I remember how sad I was because I felt so sick. And that's when the vomiting had started too. You know, I started, they give you this horrible like soy-based diet, you know, at Santa Barbara County Jail, like soy pasta that just tastes like cardboard, you know, it's just so gross. And there's like, you're like, what is that? It's like a speck. And they're like, oh, that's mushroom. But you know that it's like a dead cockroach because that's what it looks like. And now I would try to eat it and I couldn't keep it down. I'd start vomiting. I was sure not to do it on myself because I knew that they wouldn't even give me stuff, but I did start puking in the cell. So the entire cell started stinking like vomit and like stale food. And I was so sick, I couldn't even clean it. You know, I just would curl up in my ball and I was so sad that I couldn't talk to Karina and that we, you know, I was supposed to be getting mail, but I hadn't gotten any. And I know that Karina wrote me very frequently, you know, at all the other prisons that I was at, I got letters every day, but at Santa Barbara County Jail, you know, they'd like come like 2 weeks later with like a stack like this big and they'd be like, yeah, we got all this today. Sorry, trying to keep the institution safe. And you're like, you know, so that's at least I knew what the plan was that I was going to get a public defender. You know, I was just going to give my concessions and wait it out in this front central area until the U.S. Marshals came and picked me up and took me to federal custody. That was the plan. I had no idea how difficult it was going to be to actually pull that off. And we will get into more of this in the next video. Again, I had to cut this one short because I have writing deadlines right now. I'm working on it like 7 or 8 hours a day. I'm doing the nonprofit stuff. I'm doing Patreon stuff. I got a lot going on right now, but I want to at least get you something and move the story along. Story definitely is about to intensify. Well, we'll get into that next time. Guys, stay safe. Shit is absolutely wild out there, especially here in LA. You know, just everything just seems so precarious and uncertain. So be sure to stay safe. And we will definitely get through this together. I love and appreciate you. Please like, comment, subscribe. Check out patreon.com/Ryan Leone. Check out paulnarcanproject.com, Cameo. All my social media links are below. And I'll check in with you guys next time. All right, guys. Palabra.